Hello, I'm Donavan, and thank you for watching this video and showing interest in my work. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I like to say that my work and myself live at the intersection of science, religion, society, nature, and even history. I find it's an interesting place to be, and it's an interesting place for my art to live also. Well, with most people's art, facial expressions are often relied on to convey like human emotion or what have you. A lot of times we really rely on facial features to express those types of stories. And what I like to do is remove that completely. I don't like the traditional way of telling a story. I wanted to do it differently. So I removed facial features and basically just kept a very solid human form. So there's, no genitalia, or it's just the circumference. And the reason that I went with this type of approach is because I like gesture, I like movement, and I feel like you can tell a lot just by, moving someone's fingers slightly to the right or to the left. There's definitely a communication that happens through gesture, and I really tried to monopolize that in all my work, and it's a resonating theme. I consider my work sort of where pop culture and fine art and botanical art and maybe even a little bit of tattoo art, they all sort of converge in this one space and, one intersection for me. And some of my influencers are Caravaggio, just because how bold, and a lot of his work is just very dark. And I tend to gravitate towards that. And Caravaggio was a terribly complex person. And then Tenra de la Pinca couldn't be any more to the other end of Caravaggio. She seemed to have such this wonderful life that she illustrated so well in her paintings, and this bohemian, upwardly mobile circle that she ran in. It just, every time I look at one of her paintings, I feel like I'm just taken away into her world of carefree, artistic people. Gustave Clement. I don't think that Clement really ever needed facial expressions, but his work is amazing, and it's just full of gesture and movement and color and texture. It's quite nice to look at. And Keith Haring, I love Keith Haring, and I think that he was someone who was clearly haunted, and he used his art to tell those stories and express some of the injustices that he's seen in the world, and why can't we do better, and why aren't we better? We can be better. And that's a resonating theme with my work too. We can do better. We can be better. I think a piece that illustrates well my approach is the seduction of sadness. And it's that, the sadness can be a very consuming and seductive thing for all of us. It's something that we can wallow in, and that we can get trapped in if we're not careful. It serves its purpose, but at the same time, it can also be a deadly trap, and it's very seductive, is my whole point. So I feel that painting in particular really does grasp where I'm coming from. I feel that Generation Hope is another piece that I guess personifies myself. It's the incredible guilt that I think, if we really stop to think about it, the world that we're leaving the generation after us, and how it's not going to be better, and all the things that we've done that have slowly chipped away. And we're still dealing with some of the problems that we've been dealing with since we started society. Greed, injustice, disproportionate living conditions. I mean, all of these things are still a problem to this day. And it seems like we're not evolving. We're just getting better technology. So for me, this is both an apology and a hopeful thought that this next generation hopefully can fix this. The reality of the choice is a more personal piece, but I think a lot of people can identify with it. It's just based on the idea that, I was working in the corporate world for 20 something years, as an executive, and I was unhappy. And I think a lot of people are, coming to that time in their life where they've been doing something for so long and they're like, wait, is this it? But there's always room for change. There's always room to turn your life around. There's always time. And that, to me, is what this painting's about, is going from being a corporate executive to an artist. It's Complicated is another piece. This particular piece is really just about the id versus the ego, and what happens when the id is not controlled. And I think all of us have an id. Our id is sort of that tortured, unburdened sociopathic space that we have in our brain that is generally responsible for a lot of the mistakes that we've made in our life, whether it's substance abuse or relationships or any sort of, I think any sort of stupidity that we've done can all be blamed on the id. So it's about that battle of when the id and the superego go at it, and what happens if the ego loses the battle. Seems like a pretty chaotic place to me.